My name is Patrick Valentine. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is where I play my games. Even talk about wrestling. Even talk about anime. I can't get no satisfaction. Hell yeah! Completing every game to 100%, even if it means it'll be very tough. Get to the end. I will push hard to reach the end, even if it may seem tough. Complete the game. It doesn't matter what I play, I will achieve victory. No, you will see my gaming prowess that will take me to the end. Yes, it doesn't matter what I play, I will push my limits. You will see me reach to the very end. Yes, welcome to my channel. My gaming skills will take me to the end. Before I want to kick off this review, I want to quickly let you guys all know something very quickly before I begin this all wrestling review. I will specifically be talking about Smackdown from last week. I'll be going over what transpired with Smackdown last week instead of, well, as you guys know, Smackdown will be airing tomorrow. So I'll be talking about Smackdown, last week's Smackdown episode, and then from everything onwards, I'll be talking about that is transpiring this week. So, why am I going to be talking about Smackdown last week instead of tomorrow? That's mainly due to the fact that AEW Grand Slam Australia will be airing tomorrow, and I will be watching that. I was originally going to wait until then, but I've decided I'm just going to do it now, because I was going to initially going to do like a review for last week's shows, but I really couldn't be bothered. So it'll be this week's. Everything will be this week except for Smackdown. I may include Smackdown for tomorrow's Smackdown in my AEW Grand Slam Australia review that will be happening tomorrow. So, I just want to let you guys all know that. And so now, let's get on with the video. Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to another All Wrestling review. It's been a while, and I know, I don't do these All Wrestling reviews weekly. Maybe I should start doing them more weekly, but I tend to just take a couple of weeks of break from them. And if there are anything that good happen on the shows, I will talk about them. And I think that's the biggest point. That I'm not going to review every show if, there's not really anybody on the show that I'm not really invested in, or anything I'm really interested in. So, when it comes to Monday Night Raw, there really wasn't a lot to talk about. Io and Dakota won a tag match against Liv and Raquel because Liv beat Io last week via disqualification. And then there was a Money in the Bank qualifier with Bayley beating Lyra Valkyria and Jey Uso ultimately picking Gunther. So, not really a whole lot to talk about, but again, as you guys know about these All Wrestling reviews, I only talk about things I am interested in. So that's really all that happened there. When it comes to NXT, Cora Jade got the biggest win of her career by defeating Bayley. The only unfortunate thing is that it wasn't a clean win. I just flat out wished it was a clean win instead of having Roxanne dress up as Hugger Bayley and distracting Bayley to allow Cora Jade to take advantage. That was my only nitpick about that. And I do hope Stephanie Vaquer ultimately leaves Vengeance Day as the NXT North American Champion. And they also included Cora Jade in the Vengeance Day match. It was initially a triple threat of just Julia, Bayley, and Roxanne, and Cora Jade now getting added to the match. And ultimately, I really hate that they're adding Cora Jade to the match. You may think I'd be happy that they're including Cora Jade. The only reason they're including Cora Jade is because they'd rather her take the pinfall loss instead of having Bayley or Roxanne ultimately lose. Because remember, Roxanne is the one that's getting called up. Roxanne's getting called up next week because she'll be facing Raquel, and so they can't have Roxanne do the honors on her way out. Like, can't Roxanne just do the honors on her way out? Like, seriously, it's the most easiest thing in the world. Just have her do the honors as she leaves NXT. But instead, we gotta add Cora Jade to the match, so that way Cora Jade can get pinned, so that way Bayley and Roxanne can both be protected for some ungodly reason. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. And that's the biggest reason I'm not a fan of Cora Jade being added to the title match. And as much as I would like Cora Jade to win, I don't really want Julia to have a transitional reign, because she only just won the belt. So yeah, that's my biggest nitpick about that. So when it comes to SmackDown last week was garbage. It was really, really bad. Like, 3-hour SmackDowns is the worst thing WWE have ever done. It's the worst thing Triple H has ever done. He's made SmackDown unbearable to sit through. He's made SmackDown so unbearable to sit through, and the fact that the highlight of SmackDown to me was Alexa Bliss versus Candice LeRae, and Tiffany's segment with Charlotte and Nia, which ultimately led to Candice versus Alexa Bliss. The fact that that is the only part of the show that I found was the highlight of last week's SmackDown is the biggest crime of all time. They literally had Solo Sikoa return, and once again he's feuding with Cody Rhodes. Can someone please explain to me why we need to see Solo and Cody Rhodes again? Would have been better if they just had Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu. Or, I don't know, Cody Rhodes versus anyone that's not from the bloodline. But, you know what? It is what it is. Alexa and Candice, great. A fresh match. It's a fresh match. It's a match that I know a lot of fans probably have wanted to see. So that's cool. Alexa Bliss got herself a nice fresh opponent. Upon her return. It was a good match. I thought it was fine. Not a fan of Alexa Bliss using the Sister Abigail as her finishing move, but, you know, she's got to pay tribute to Bray Wyatt in some way, right? I do prefer the Twisted Bliss as her finisher instead of the Abigail DDT. But you know what? It's fine. It was a fine match. I'm not going to let that disgruntle me. While Charlotte Flair is most likely going to pick Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, that's really all I can really say about that. So that's all that transpired on SmackDown last week. So, when it comes to TNA, Cora Jade had a match on TNA this week. Last week she was on commentary for a Battle Royal. And also the other week prior she had her debut, which, you know, is kind of funny because her Wikipedia says that she did appear once on TNA before joining WWE, so it's not technically her debut, but whatever. But she wrestled Xia Brookside this week. She wrestled Xia Brookside. It was a decent little match. And Cora Jade ultimately won the match. She beat Xia Brookside clean. See, wasn't it that hard to have exactly that happen with Bayley on NXT? Just have her win cleanly? But hey, Cora Jade is probably like the only real big name TNA has actually had on their programs. Sure, Axiom and Nathan Fraser, the tag team champions, you may argue, but I think Cora Jade's like the biggest name on the women's side of things that they've had appear so far. Because majority of the time, whenever they have someone from NXT appear on TNA, it's usually low-tier, low-carder people that fans don't really know anything about. So, I am hoping Cora Jade and Masha Slamovich do eventually have their match. So that's, and also Joe Hendry was able to take down Jake something. I know, that's kind of a really weird name for a wrestler, I'm not gonna lie. But hey, that was a fine little match as well. And as for AEW, this is where I'll be wrapping up this review because I need to get through this as quickly as possible. As for AEW this week, I enjoyed some of the stuff that happened on AEW this week. Jon Moxley had a really good promo on Edge. You know, I actually really do not like Edge's new name in AEW. Like, I know he probably didn't want to use his real name, Adam Copeland, but he's basically called the Rated R Superstar Cope. So yeah, I don't really want to say that. So I'd be like, well, I'd rather say Edge. But yeah, Moxley and Edge are gonna have a match at the Grand Slam show in Australia tomorrow. And Mariah May had a quick match, and when I say quick, I mean quick. She beat her opponent in like about 10 seconds before doing something with Timeless Toni Storm, which Toni Storm is now back to the Timeless character because she was pretending to be a rookie. She was pretending to be the old version of herself, as like she was acting in a movie. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the fear on Mariah's face really sold that angle really well. But ultimately, I do think Mariah will defeat Toni Storm in Australia as well. But I wouldn't be mad if Toni did win. Obviously, I wouldn't be mad, because she's Australian. Duh. But ultimately, the highlight for me for Collision was Halftime Harley. Harley Cameron and her Muppet, her Mercedes Money Muppet, which is hilarious as hell, they perform a concert for Mercedes. They start singing about Mercedes. She's basically, she's strumming a guitar, and she's basically unleashing her inner Joe Hendry. She's unleashing her inner Joe Hendry, singing about Mercedes. Mercedes comes out, proceeds to call Harley a loser, and Harley continues to get mad at her when she's just trying to sing about her. Mercedes does get annoyed with the song, but eventually she starts dancing to the song as if like she's getting into it now. Because the song was called Mercedes Will Feel the Wrath of Harley. So she was getting into it, and then she cut Harley off again. Again would proceed to call her a loser, and Harley would then get serious. See, this is how you book a comedy character. They can joke and have fun, but then there's times they need to get serious. Harley starts getting serious by telling Mercedes that, yes, I am new to this, and you are one of the all-time greats. But do you want to know what's the most important thing? You've become the most relevant ever since you started working with me. Ever since you began working with me, that has been the most relevant you've ever been throughout your entire career. Which Mercedes took that as an insult. But then Harley Cameron would challenge her for the TBS Championship. Mercedes would decline and would once again call her a loser. Harley would then scream, "Feel the wrath," and punch Mercedes in the face so hard that Mercedes flung out of the ring from the punch, as if like she got hit by a superpower. Mercedes would then agree to the match at Grand Slam Australia. I am looking forward to this match. I am really looking forward to this match. I think this has a lot of potential to be a great match. I've seen a lot of people want Harley to win. Now, I wouldn't be mad if Harley did win, because she's Australian. But in my personal opinion, I think Mercedes should win. There's no reason for... I agree in a way where I've heard, a friend of mine say, just because you're in your hometown doesn't mean you should win just because they're in your hometown or whatever. And I personally agree in a way, like, just because it's your hometown doesn't automatically mean you should be winning hometown or / home country. Like, you shouldn't be winning or whatever just because it's your home country or hometown or whatever. And yes, Harley should get a feel-good moment. While I agree with some people saying Harley should get a feel-good moment, but I also feel if there is going to be a feel-good moment for the Australian wrestlers, it could be Buddy Matthews, which I should have talked about, which I'm going to talk about his segment really quick. He had a sit-down interview with Okada, and he called himself Australia's best, and he called Okada Japan's best. And so I think Buddy Murphy is the guy that should give the feel-good moment to the Australians. Also, Tony Storm could also give us Australians the feel-good moment. While I agree Harley has been really good right now ever since she split away from Saraya, and she deserves a moment in the sun, while I do agree with that, I do think Mercedes is going to retain here. Mainly because she's the biggest star in the world, and I think Harley should continue to chase. This is a feud I think they should continue. All of Mercedes' feuds have kind of been one and done outside of Chris Statlander and Sheeta, but I think Harley should continue to chase Mercedes, and then at some point down the line, Harley should get another shot at Mercedes, and only then you have Harley pull out the win on Mercedes. And when that and it should happen where the timing is right. Some people may think now is the right time because of how over she is, but I think Harley will get more over the more she chases. Pure baby faces should chase longer. Look at Cody Rhodes, for example, when he lost at WrestleMania 39. Yes, we were all mad about that, but it didn't hurt Cody's momentum. It did not hurt Cody's momentum at all, and he did eventually win the title at WrestleMania 40. So I think Harley will be just fine. I think Harley will be fine. I think Harley will get more and more and more popular the more she chases. And when the timing is right, you do Mercedes and Harley again at a later time, maybe at Wembley Stadium, maybe at a Wembley Stadium show, and only then you have Mercedes feel the wrath of Harley, and you have Harley win. It's all about timing. It's all about timing. You shouldn't. While I agree Harley winning in Australia would be great, I do think Mercedes will and should retain and have Harley continue to chase. We've definitely got Tony Storm or Buddy Murphy that could give us that feel-good moment in Australia as well. As for other things that took place on AEW, there was this new girl named Megan Bain who made her debut. I hadn't really heard of her, so I checked out her match to see what she's all about. And her finishing move is an F5. So Zarya, the NXT girl, also has an F5 as her finisher. And now this Megan Bain also has an F5 as her finisher as well. And also, Chris Statlander also defeated Penelope Ford, who hasn't won a match since returning, which, I think she's only had like 3 matches since she's come back, so hopefully she starts winning eventually. And I also saw the Undisputed Era, well, Kingdom, but I'm just saying that because it's easier for people to know who the hell I'm talking about. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong fall short against the Death Raiders in a trios tag team title match. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot on AEW that I definitely am looking forward to, and I do think AEW Grand Slam tomorrow is going to be great. Tony Storm and Mariah May should main event that show. I'm being dead serious. Mariah May and Toni Storm should main event Grand Slam Australia. It should not be Jon Moxley and Edge, because Jon Moxley is not defending his title. Jon Moxley is not defending his title, so he should not be in the main event. So that is really all I can give you guys for this All Wrestling review. Not a whole lot to talk about, but I guess I'll quickly run down NXT real quick. Well, I did run down NXT, I talked about Cora Jade beating Bayley, but the biggest thing to come out of it was not only Zarya beating Nikita Lyons. I would have been very pissed off at Shawn Michaels if he had Nikita beat her. And the other big thing that happened on NXT was the debut of Ricky Starks, the absolute Ricky Starks. And if you guys want to hear my thoughts on Ricky Starks, watch the video where that is called My Thoughts on Ricky Starks. But I wanted to mention that before I get people telling me that I forgot to mention it. So that is all I've got for you guys in this All Wrestling review. I hope you guys liked it. Hit the thumbs up, and I will see you all next time.